I also like the fact that you get loads of birds at dubstep raves, right? You go to a dubstep rave elsewhere, like apparently London or, and it's all like blokes just getting rowdy, but you come down here and it's just birds like shaking their asses. Brilliant. I think the other thing about the dubstep is a lot of younger music or a lot of younger crowds, it's so fucking drug fueled. People gurning their tits off all night, right? You go to a dubstep rave, it's all Guinness and ganja, it's an older crowd, and people are happy to rave till like, you know, 3, 4, 5 in the morning, but they're just on the biz, they take it slow, they take it steady.
Anybody drops the E, I don't know, take coke, anything like that in something like this, it's going to be a bit weird because the music isn't so fast.
And it's still, you're getting, you know, deep down and dirty, but it's much more civilised, I think. It's, you know, it's much easier to rave all night at a dubstep rave than it is at a jungle or a techno or a break all night.
You know what I mean? All you really need is just that kind of red stripe, maybe a Guinness and a spliff, and you're set for the whole night. That's all you need. You don't need no other drugs really, man, you know what I mean? Just feel the bass, like, it's all good.
You know, it's people who like the frequencies, you know, they just want to get mashed by a fucking loud sound, you know? Because it's not like a cattle market club where you've got people coming and getting wankered and falling over and making assholes of this. Mainly people who are soundheads, you know, we come for the music.
I am Elemental. I'm from North London. My style is, I like to bring a bit of breaks into it, a bit of high frequency energy. People are calling that kind of sound break step. It's still kind of dubstep for me.
I'm coming to the whole dubstep and grime thing from a more electronica point of view, really, and sort of trying to mix the sounds up. I mean, dubstep's a lot about the space in there, you know, space for the sounds to reverberate and so on, and I guess I fill those gaps in a bit more with what I do. So it's kind of, it's a halfway, I guess, between electronica and grime and dubstep.
I like making music. Started making some dubstep. Well, I didn't even know it was dubstep actually. It was just music that I was making, and it happened to fit into the style of dubstep. My stuff's kind of dark, but it's quite melodic, you know. It's got a nice little vibe. I use Logic. Sometimes I use Reason. But yeah, it's Logic with a load of VST instruments.
Right, basically I'm using a program called Ableton Live, and I was using some MIDI controllers. This is quite an important part of it. It's like the interface between me and the program. But what I do is, like, I've been going through loads of old and recent tracks and breaking them down into various loops or like long sections that are just like either like one single sound or a mix of a few sounds. And then what I do is arrange it on a grid. So you've got like channels going across and what's called scenes going down. And each whole scene would be one section of a tune, like an intro or a drop. I can go and trigger a new scene, quickly switch into a whole section, but then I can mute parts, I can bring parts of other loops, place loops with different, you know, just mix it up like that. And I can apply effects live to each channel. So I can, you know, go to channel, put an echo on it, go to another channel, put a reverb on it. So I've got like loads of control over every part that's going on.
I'm using Ableton just as a way to try and give me a platform where I could edit the tracks a bit more live as I go along. I mean, sort of opposite to DJing where the tracks run, you know, I want to be able to re-edit the tracks as I go along, kind of reinvent them if you like, so restructuring and bringing in extra sounds, bringing in sort of new loops, you know, layering more drum beats on top. So what you get in the end is basically not what's on the record. You're more of a live show. Come and see an Act 2 gig and you don't quite know how it's going to sound, you know, anything could happen. Dubstep and grime to an extent is a lot more about dub plates and, you know, getting tracks cut onto vinyl, and the performances in hearing these exclusives and all the rest of it. That's where the electronica aspect of the laptop comes in, you know. It's a slightly different package really from what the other dubstep guys are doing.
Well, the service I provide is called Dub Studio, and I make vinyl dub plates. It's a 7-inch one with a dinked hole. This is 10-inch dub plate, which is the traditional kind of size, both for kind of reggae, dub and dubstep. It's kind of a standard format because it can hold about 5 to 6 minutes of reasonably loud, bassy music. If you want any longer than that, you can fit about 7 to 8 minutes on a 12-inch dub plate. 7 inches cost 15 quid, 10 inches are 25, 12 inches are 35. Well, the way it works is you take your audio source. I mean, it could be from tape or from DAT or from CD. The signal comes from Pro Tools, and then it gets sent to the amplifier, and then from the amplifier it gets sent to the cutting head, and the cutting head essentially makes the stylus move, and the stylus, and as it cuts the groove, a sort of spiral groove leading towards the middle, it vibrates and sort of etches the sound into the record.
If you're going to start making music, don't start making something that's got a high BPM like drum and bass, because you need space. If you haven't got space in music, then the sounds that you create are just going to, it just sound shit. You need to have space to make those. You just have to have 8 or 10 good quality sounds in one tune, and those quality sounds will overtake. Do you know what I mean? If you've got too many crunched up sounds in there, it's too clouded and it comes out muddy, and the listener doesn't really know what sounds to pick up and stuff. So.
This is a track called Sagrada I was working on with Ben Blackmore. I've got Nuendo hooked up through Yamaha 01V, the digital mixer. So it means I've got 8 outputs going into the desk, so I can separate all like my basses, breaks, pads, all that sort of thing. So this is just a breaks track, and this will just be coming through channel 1. What I've done is I've already bounced battery down into an audio file, because that way I find it easier to do real-time effects on the audio file. You can reverse it, you can do what you want with it, get a nice sound out of it that way. The next key part for me in my head for dubstep has got to be the bass. Ben came in and he brought loads of guitars with him, and we recorded down like different guitars, like all doing the same kind of motif, and I complemented it with working on a sub bass that I did in the A1, which is like a native synth for Nuendo, and that means you get this like kind of you know, that kind of LFO sub sound. Next, what have we got? The guitar. So that's Ben's recorded bit, and I've also got a bit where I've taken the same bit, chopped it up and affected it. I mean, this is a really simple tune. I mean, a lot of dubstep tunes are, they're like only like 2 or 3 elements. One thing I'm keen on, man, is getting like live sounds in there, stuff you've recorded, because then the tune is really your own, you know, you've made stuff from scratch. I've got one track in here which is just clapping. It just adds to the track. And so all the way through the tune I'm adding little sections. So you've got like the breaks here, and then those with the pad sounds, and then this is the bass, but you can see it's got like this blue line underneath, which is basically me controlling the filter that the bass is going through. So it's getting high pass at the moment, so it's like doesn't sound as loud, and the bass just builds up and builds up until the drop, which comes in there. So you're bringing in basses. Like here's obviously the breakdown because there's no beats, and you've got a different beat pattern, then you've got extra stuff coming in, and it changes up, and then you've got the drop of that bit as well. I mastered this one down already, so that's what this big track on the top is. So this sounds a lot more fuller than the tune would in Nuendo alone. You can be really pernickety about sounds and what you're doing in the studio and stuff, but like I kind of like that gritty, nasty kind of sounds, and a bit sort of, you know, a bit off and a bit distorted and not quite right sounds. Do you know what I mean? I don't really want them to be bang on, right on the money all the time. It's not really about that for me.
When it comes to producing dubstep, the quality of the sound is really important. You know, there's a kind of an ethic of good quality production in dubstep. I think that the favourite medium tends to be vinyl. Just like in the drum and bass scene, there's a kind of an air of competitiveness when it comes to getting the latest tunes first. Having tunes on dub plates is part of that. I think that vinyl kind of is like a good sort of leveller for all the sound, because you can't really be too extreme and harsh on vinyl without it sounding really terrible.